Everyone, we're being recorded. Could I have somebody move the minutes of the previous meeting? Thank you, Deputy. Any objection? Okay, declare that carried. No supplementary items.
Chairman, sorry to interrupt, but we do have an apology to record.
Oh, yeah, okay, yep. We have one apology from Councillor Fox. And we have Simon Barakis, Alderman Barakis, who's here but having difficulties turning his camera on. Item 3, supplementary items. We don't have any supplementaries. Item 4, indications of pecuniary and conflicts of interest. I don't think we have any. Transfer of agenda items, no. Deputations, yes, we do have a deputation. Would somebody like to move that we hear that? Thanks, Deputy. Would you like to invite the deputation people, Miss Tanya Hunt, Miss Jo Horton, and Emma Madden into the Zoom meeting, please? Hey, Tanya. G'day, Emma. And where's Jo? There you are, Jo. Hello, Jo. Welcome to the City Infrastructure Services meeting. You'll be presenting to us tonight, I understand.
Yes.
So we'll just go around quickly. So we have 4 of the councillors here tonight. We have the Lord Mayor, the Deputy Lord Mayor, Alderman Barakis, and myself. And we also have several of the directors of council. And we also have Tim Short, Katie Cooper, who's our new City Futures person. Is that correct, Katie? Hello, Katie. G'day.
Hello. Hi there.
We have Neil Noy, Mr. Fisher and Mr. Doyle. So you've got a good audience to speak to tonight. So I'll throw it over to you guys and you'll be talking about your transport strategy, which I'm very interested in hearing. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Look, before I begin, I would like to acknowledge the Palawa people as the traditional and ongoing custodians of Lutruwita, Tasmania, and to pay my respects to elders past and present. The purpose of our presentation today is to draw your attention to the key findings and recommendations in the Tasmanian Youth Forum report on transport, and really to explore opportunities to increase the participation of young people in the work of council on matters pertaining to transport. So to ensure that young people have their views heard and that they're represented. Look, before I continue, I'm just not sure how much you know about the Youth Network of Tasmania, and I wonder whether it would be useful just to provide you with some information before I continue. Are people familiar with the role of Why Not in the community generally? Sorry, you're on mute.
Yep, I think we're all fairly much familiar. You've spoken to council on a number of occasions, I think, and been at various forums across time. So I'm pretty sure we've got a good idea. Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, great. Thank you. I'll continue. So 388 young Tasmanians participated in the Tasmanian Youth Forum last year, both in person and online, to share their views on what an ideal transportation system would look like for young Tasmanians. And they identified potential solutions to some of the challenges that they face in moving safely and efficiently in their communities. Young people told us that they want to be involved in conversations and decision-making on issues that impact their life. And with transport a fundamental issue for young Tasmanians, it's incredibly important that young people are offered meaningful opportunities to participate in these types of conversations. So we really believe at Why Not that local, state and federal governments all have a role to play in working towards integrated and sustainable transport solutions for our communities, and that young people really should be involved in co-designing transport-related policy and services and initiatives. And we're really fortunate today to have a member of the Tasmanian Youth Forum, a young person, Emma, join us. And I'd like to hand over to Emma for Emma to share some of her thoughts and ideas and insights from being involved in planning and designing the Tasmanian Youth Forum, as well as participating in the day. I think it would be wonderful to hear from a young person as to why it's important to have their voices heard. So Emma, I'll hand over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. So obviously, hi everyone, my name's Emma, I am 18. Before I start, I'd like to acknowledge that I'm on the land of the Letumanara and Penina people. But yeah, so I'm currently up in Launceston. I'll be moving to Hobart on Saturday, actually. But I was part of the focus group for the Youth Forum, and a lot of what I heard and what I took away was that mainly it's people feel like we're not being heard, that there's no tangible measurement of our impact on what's happening around us. So I really think that actively involving young people is really important for a number of reasons, including but not limited to, on issues such as these, young people can offer a unique insight. For transport in particular, young people are the ones more often, not always, but more often on the buses, using the cabs, using the electric scooters, whether that be to not being able to drive or not having a car or other factors like that. And also just because they can offer unique insight because of that, and also it directly impacts them and their lives, or us and our lives, really. For example, I cannot drive because I developed a medical condition that put me at risk of seizures. So I rely on public transport completely to get me around. And I really think that the way to go about actively including young people in these decision-making processes is that we need a specifically designed and targeted mechanism, one that not only encourages youth participation, but also effectively communicates with young people and fairly compensates them for their time, fair pay for fair work. But also has some way to tangibly show the impact of what's being happened. It's not just okay, we heard you, yes. It's all right, we heard you, this is what will happen next, and then some way to measure the progress of that along. I also really think that it's about the communication of the issues as well, is a big one. A lot of young people aren't aware of any opportunities going on. And some of that comes down to, the way it's communicated. For example, I looked on the City of Hobart Council page earlier, and there was limited information about any youth opportunities. The closest I found was the Youth Advisory Squad. However, that also has an outdated web page that does not provide current information, which can really, block off people from joining in when they have something to say. In particular, social media is something that many young people are on, and can just be easier to talk to a wider group of people at once. Other than that, I really do think that it's, the main key findings were that young people want to be able to not only be heard, but see the difference that they're making.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Emma. And look, I think I'll just follow up with that to say that what we heard from participants in the Tasmanian Youth Forum was actually quite alarming, in that their personal safety was such a significant concern to them. And young people are wanting to be a part of the solution, and are wanting to really have that opportunity and platform to contribute to decision making and solutions that do impact them. And so we wanted to, chat to you today about the possibility of what it might look like, what mechanisms could be in place for young people to connect with you and to have their say on matters that are important to them. And so I think what we're finding often is that there are opportunities in there for people and community to have their say, but I think the way and the way the information might be communicated and the channels that are used to communicate information are not necessarily accessible by young people. So we find that young people tend to get their information in different ways and are less likely to look on a website or to be made aware of opportunities to have their voices heard alongside other members of our community. So it's looking at how we might be able to communicate more effectively and provide those opportunities to young people. Really, that's it from us. We just really wanted to draw your attention to the fact that there is a report that we believe everybody has a role to play. We really do want our young people to feel safe. And we really want young people to contribute their ideas and their solutions to to a safe, affordable and accessible transport system in Tasmania.
Thanks, Emma. Thanks, Tanya. Joe, did you want to make a comment?
Thank you, but I'm here for moral support.
Okay, all right. So, okay, what we'll do now is open it up to questions from firstly the councillors, and if any of the officers have anything they'd like to contribute, then please do. So, Lord Mayor, Deputy Lord Mayor, Alderman Barakis, over to you guys.
Thanks. I'd like to ask a question.
Go on, yep.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for making the time to be here. It's been a little while since I saw the report. I think you sent it out last year, and I must admit I have forgotten the sort of key findings. I mean, I know there's generally the message is that you'd like public transport to be more frequent and more service, you know, more times across the day. But can you just sort of just a little bit of a summary of what you consider to be the most important findings for us to be aware of?
Absolutely. Look, I think from my perspective, it was personal safety for young people using public transport. That was both actually on the particular transport that they were utilising, whether that be a bus or other, and also waiting for public transport. There was a real sense of not feeling safe in the community, and young people recognise that other young people are perpetrators of inappropriate behaviour, and that needs to be addressed. But there was a real sense when young people were presenting back to the forum in small groups that their personal safety was a significant concern. Did you want to talk to that, Emma, in terms of some of the concerns that you have?
Yeah, so a lot of it, again, was that personal safety thing of not even necessarily on public transport, but in waiting areas such as bus stops, especially, you know, towards later at night. There's usually not great lighting or stuff like that. And also it's that, again, it's that feeling of not being involved and not having a say. Another one of the main key findings was the affordability of it. So for example, for me to get from Launceston to Hobart on a bus, that's going to cost me about $20 to $30. And even just looking in Hobart specifically, if you're catching a bus every day to and from school, we worked out it's something like $800 a year, which is money that some people just don't have.
Yeah, and I guess with regard to the safety, there was a real, people wanted to know who has duty of care for unaccompanied children on public transport, and it was particularly relevant with people on school buses, for example, that there wasn't ownership with regard to duty of care from either the school or the transport body. So that certainly was really clear, and young people were saying that they want clear safety policies and procedures to protect them from violence, bullying, harassment and antisocial behaviour, and that they'd like to see further investments in that area. So really they want to know where they can go and who they can call upon when they're not feeling safe in their communities using public transport. That was a huge theme. The accessibility and the cost associated with transport was also identified as a concern, so making public transport more affordable, but then also promoting other ways that young people can move about their communities that are environmentally sustainable. So moving away from using cars, for example, on roads, and looking at different ways of commuting. So promoting walking and cycling as a way of getting to and from. I think they were the key things. It was really about involving young people, increasing their safety, increasing public transport accessibility for all young people, including those with special needs, and making it more affordable and promoting alternative environmentally sustainable transport options. So I think sometimes what happens is that the voice of young people perhaps isn't necessarily included in the conversation, and we acknowledge that there are opportunities, but again, it's how do we encourage and motivate young people to have their say and to speak out on these issues, and that's what I think we need to look at.
Sorry, just one, can I just ask one supplementary to that? Just on the safety, were there any particular suggestions about improving safety?
Yeah.
I can take this one.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
There were.
there were several. There was better lighting at bus stops. In particular, the one that came up most frequently was an app for public transport methods such as buses or similar things. One that would allow you to track in real time where the bus is, kind of similar to the Melbourne Tram Tracker app. So not only would you have some idea of how far away the bus is, but also inbuilt to that, a lot of other participants mentioned that they wanted some sort of emergency button. So something that would alert, police or someone to be there at the next stop to help them.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Yep. Ask over the Deputy Lord Mayor now. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for the presentation. It looks like a huge body of work that's been undertaken and really useful. Interestingly, I had a conversation with a young person yesterday who was talking about the same sort of safety issues in the Glenorchy bus mall. But equally, I've had a conversation with a friend who is my age, so no longer a young person, who was bullied on the school bus way back when she went from South Hobart down to Taroona. So I'm sure those situations are really something that we should be responding to, and it shouldn't take the passage of time of over 30 years for anything to be done. I suppose the lighting and all of those things, and to me that permeability away from those bus stops as well, making sure that we have good street lighting is something. Like making sure that you're safe from the public transport hub or bus stop or whatever it is to your home or your destination. I suppose that's might be something else that you're looking at. Like joining up the dots. Is that something that came up, Emma?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. So mostly it was focused on the bus stops itself, just because they seemed like, the easiest solution, but it's definitely not the whole answer. It's all parts of a puzzle. And I think this was just the one that most participants went, well, this is something we can lay out an easy plan for.
And I also note that climate change seems to be a particular issue as well. Of course, that ties into having safe bike options, so that you can actually take those alternative safe or make those alternative choices. And of course, that's what our committee does. So it'd be good to have a more fulsome look at the report and see what we can do to join up those concerns as well.
Yep. Thank you. Alderman Barakis.
Thank you, Chair. And three, I've got a couple. I suppose I'll just note the safety aspect is one that really did stick out to me as well. A lot of these are ones that obviously are more targeted towards things that Metro needs to be doing. And I assume that you guys are presenting this to Metro as well. As far as what we can do, and I suppose we have a role in liaising with Metro as well. I know there was a meeting that we're trying to organise a meeting with Metro that kind of was going to happen, but hasn't happened yet. But perhaps that's something we could discuss with them as well, as far as safety aspects of catching the bus. But as far as what we as a council can do to assist with the issue, I know there was the comment about lighting at and around bus stops. Is there anything else that we could be directly doing to make public transport and make getting around the city safer for young people?
Emma?
I think, as it was said before, definitely, connecting the dots with bike lanes in particular, making sure that there is that safety throughout the city. Plus, it's the general infrastructure thing. So lighting, as brought up, just more around general areas, especially if it's an area that seems to be a problem. And also, I know they're not everyone's favourite, but the e-scooters, they definitely help solve a lot of issues when it comes to that.
Could you just could you rewind just about 10 seconds? We missed a little bit of that. You froze.
Oh, okay. Oh, what was the last part you heard?
Don't know.
Okay.
Can you say it again? It was.
I think it was about the e-scooters.
Well, yeah, what was the question? It was about, it might have been about e-scooters, yeah.
So essentially connecting up the bike lanes, better lighting around. And I was saying, it's not everyone's favorite, but the e-scooters do play a role in helping young people as well.
Yes.
A bit pricey, but they do, take on that, moving away from cars and easy availability that can also help.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that. And
can I add to that? Sorry, just really quickly. I think one
okay,
other
jump
thing
in, Tanya, and then we'll come back to you, Simon.
Yep.
Sorry, so it was just following on from your question, is that one thing that I think council could do is actually look at mechanisms to engage with young people on this issue on a more regular, ongoing basis, so that that young people can put forward different ideas and solutions and be involved in a conversation and understand, I guess, opportunities and limitations with council and what that could look like, and that there is a regular mechanism, a way that you can connect with young people specifically on this issue.
Yeah.
Look, I do agree with that, and I agree with what you said earlier. I think there's nothing quite worse than being consulted with and having people ask for your opinion, and then when you've given your opinion, say, yeah, thanks for that, and then move on and continue doing what they're going to do anyway. So when we do consultation with young people and with anyone, really, we got to make sure that we actually do that in good faith and actually really listen, not just do it as a box ticking exercise.
Mm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Any officers would like to chime in? Okay. Go again, Lord Mayor.
I'll just, I'm not sure whether you responded to Simon's question about, Alderman Brax's question about Metro and whether they gave you a hearing and whether they've agreed to anything in particular or gave you any advice about things.
Yes, we have had a conversation. I had a conversation with the CEO of Metro, and I'm sorry, I can't recall her name, but we did have a conversation, and the report was read, and I guess there was a really robust conversation in that we all have a role to play, and that it's not purely the responsibility of Metro, but that they are interested in having a conversation about what it could look like in terms of supporting young people to feel safe and move about the communities, but that it probably needs to include the broader transportation network and not just Metro as well. So they certainly are open to having a conversation about it. We've not progressed that at this point just purely because of timing and capacity, but they are aware of the report and are willing to have a conversation and continue the conversation.
And I think we need to continue the conversation as well and come up with an appropriate mechanism so that we're speaking more regularly. We've already got the youth advisory group as well, so maybe there's a connection there that could be made. Yeah. But there's a lot of issues here we need to continue to look at and understand and see if we can resolve in time. Deputy Lord Mayor, you want to come in again?
Yeah, just a couple of things. I think the Metro chair or CEO is Katie Cooper, but not
Thank you.
Our Katie Cooper.
Thank you.
And is this document public?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes, it is. It's on our website.
Yeah, okay. I just can't download it from our hub. Having those further conversations, I think, would be good. So you start meeting again soon, don't you? For this year, you start your youth forum.
Yes, we do. We're currently in the process of planning the next Tasmanian Youth Forum, and we're consulting with young people about the topic. So the topic does change every year, and so that's yet to be determined.
Yeah, and I imagine that activities at Youth Arc and the Youth Advisory Squad would be coming up with these transport issues. So it'd be interesting. I don't know, Mr. Short might be able to help us with that.
And I also think our Katie Cooper, who's responsible for City Futures, might like to engage at some point as well on this topic, because I think we need to make sure that everyone in the city is included, all the different demographics, and we just need to create that mechanism. Mr. Short, did you want to say a word?
Oh, just through you, Chair, response to Debbie, absolutely. And I know Tanya has worked with our youth team in the past. So certainly I know Yas did a lot of work last year on issues that were important to them. And I do feel safe transport came up. So absolutely, I think we would love the opportunity to continue to work with Tanya and her colleagues on this one.
Okay. Look, we need to keep moving, but what I'd like to do is for someone to move that we receive and note the report, and maybe we make it, thanks, Councillor Alderman Barakis, and that we also include, wait for the other bit, we also include a recommendation that we speak again in the next couple of months and see if we can work out a strategy to look at how we can improve our relationship with young people in Hobart via Why Not and whoever else, and possibly, bring in the Youth Advisory Group just to have a broader discussion about this and the way forward, so we can ensure that you guys are well represented, Emma and co. So, we can guarantee something into the future that we will build that connection, as, I'm sure we're all keen to do. Katie, did you want to jump in? Okay.
Chair, while you're while we're waiting for Katie, I'm happy to move that, but I'll also add in on top of your suggestion. I think not just in the next couple of months, but I think also on an ongoing basis, and we put that commitment in there as well. So I'll move that with that, but I'm not going to stop debate or anything. But I'm happy to move that.
Yeah. All right. So have you got some words around that, Jason? Or you can listen to the tape.
I have, Chair.
Okay. All right. We need to keep moving. Just last go, Lord Mayor.
Look, just wondering whether we could add something in specifically about getting some advice from the officers about whether there's any particular letters that we might want to write as a result of these findings, like, for example, to the state government about the I know they are doing work on a sort of real-time system, but the idea of the button, the emergency button, whether there's and also whether we could particularly make sure that the team that are doing the e-scooters have an opportunity maybe to engage with Why Not to ensure that we are capturing those young voices in the e-scooter discussion as well.
I'm just thinking, Lord Mayor, maybe all of these things will be brought to the table when we meet up in a little while, and that's when we can compile a letter with certain requests, or work out what we want to do, develop a bit of a strategy there to go forward on this. So last go, Deputy.
Thank you. I just thought I might mention we had quite a lengthy debate about e-scooters the other day, and actually making them cheaper for youth would be a start too. So that increases accessibility. But part of the discussion, Councillor Harvey moved, and it was supported, I think, 11 votes to 1, that we continue our commitment with rolling out infrastructure relating to bike lanes. So, really important part of council's work to commit, to not only commit, but actually do what we have in our transport strategy.
Yep.
Right.
Good. Yep. Mr. Doyle?
Chairman, to assist, if Alderman Barakis was interested there and to meet the Lord Mayor's request there, we could add another clause that asks officers to review the report and to provide advice back on the various representations or other actions that might be appropriate.
That'd be perfect.
Mm-hmm. You happy with that, Alderman Barakis?
I'm happy to include that. I think I was about to speak up on that. I think what the Lord Mayor suggested was a good suggestion, but I think it needs to go further than just what representations we can make. It's also a consideration as to what action we can take ourselves, and if this comes back to us in a report from the officers as to what things do we need to advocate on, what things do we need to take the front foot on ourselves, then I think that's probably a bit more all-encompassing. So I'm happy to include the suggestion of Mr. Doyle.
Okay, all right then. So we've got that motion with all of those bits included into it, and I think Jason will reflect the conversation around that motion. So any objections to that? Committee? No objections. I declare that carried. So thank you, Emma, Joe and Tanya, for coming in today. It was a really good discussion. I'm really pleased you came in and presented to us, and I'm hopeful that this will lead to some good outcomes. So thanks again. And if you want to stick around for there is no, we're going into close now, so bad luck.
Thank you for the opportunity. We appreciate it. Thanks.
Okay.
So
Thank you. Cheerio.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Emma. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, Joe. Okay.
So, committee, we'll move on to item 7, which is the committee action status report. Would somebody like to raise a hand?
I'll move that.
Okay. Alderman Barakis, any discussion around the committee action status report? There being none, I'll put that. No objection. Okay. Item 8 is responses to questions without notice. We've got several, I've got 6 of them there. No discussion. And item 9, questions without notice. Does anybody have a question? Deputy.
Sorry, Chair, just need a mover for the
I'm happy to move. Yeah, I'll move the responses to questions
Okay.
without notice.
Any dissent to the responses? None. I'll declare that carried. Okay. Item 9, Deputy.
Yeah, thank you. I have a couple of photos of what looks like fish waste or marine waste at the tip. So the question is, how much of this waste is processed at Roby's, and what sort of so really what sort of volumes and anything else that might be related to its the large amount of waste that is there.
Do you want to answer that now?
Chairman, I think it's best we take it on notice. What I can advise committee is that the city has negotiations with various suppliers of organic material. It's not very large quantities at all, but we do need to bring in some mix that goes with our green waste to enable our organic operation to operate effectively. But I think taking it on notice is the best way to fully respond to the deputy's question.
Okay. Yep.
And,
another question, Deputy. There's no discussion.
Sorry, more in particular, there's looks like there's fish farm plastic involved, so not just organic waste, so it's also the fish farm, what might be fish farm plastic.
Yeah, that is unusual, and I think it best taken on notice so as we can provide a response.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, Lord Mayor?
Yeah, I've got a couple. I think I'll start with the simple ones because I'm very happy for these just to be verbal. I don't need them written necessarily. When approximately are we due to get our annual briefing from the Derwent Estuary program?
Well, look, I think I'll need to take that one on notice. I'm not quite sure when that date is, Chair.
Okay, next question.
Any other director might know.
Recently.
It wasn't that long ago, Chairman, but I have a sense that it was delayed for quite a few months in getting to us.
Okay.
My feeling is late in the latter half of the calendar year, but I think Mr. Noy's right. We should give you some formal advice.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is just another sort of related to meeting topics. I recall that it was previously agreed that we would get the annual statistics on car, bike and pedestrian accidents within the City of Hobart municipality, but I'm not sure whether that's occurred yet. I think I recall that being discussed and agreed to at one stage, but I don't think it's occurred. And I guess the question is, can it occur, or is there a problem with that kind of data coming through to us?
Through you, Chair. Look, I'm sure we can get that data for committee. So I'll endeavour to access that information and formally respond to this question.
Thank you. Also, when is the floating platform at Sandy Bay? I don't exactly know the right word for it. The one out in the water. When's that one due for renewal? I know that one you probably have to take on notice.
When it sinks.
Yeah, it's not that long ago, Chairman. They were renewed. Perhaps in the last time goes so quickly. I was going to say in the last couple of years, but I think we'll take it on notice so we can provide a response.
Sure.
Okay, is that all?
That will do for now. Thank you.
Alderman Barakis, do you have any questions? No,
I did have one, but it's escaped me. So
okay, well, we'll move on then. Thank you. So, all right. Item 10 is moving into the close. Would somebody like to move that? Thank you, Alderman